Your Facebook community. Whoa, my video just zoomed on in here. Hold on. We are getting started. Okay, so sorry. My video does this thing sometimes where it just like zooms in really close on my face. So you can see my face like very big right now. I apologize. Or maybe you're welcome. Happy Friday, everybody. Hello. Here we are at the next episode of the Love Over Fear show. For anyone who doesn't know me, hi, I am Sarah. I am the lead body-mind integration expert here at Healing Embodied. I work alongside of our beautiful, lovely, wonderful CEO and founder, Chelsea Horton, who, if you're here, you are certainly familiar with. My brain is feeling all sorts of scrambled today, so I really hope that this episode feels like it has some flow, and I'm just going to trust that the flow is going to come. So let's dive on in, shall we? If you are newer here to this Moving Beyond Fear Facebook community or Healing Embodied in general, welcome. We are so grateful that you've chosen to hang out with us and spend your time with us. If you don't know what the Love Over Fear show is, if you're here watching but you have no idea what I'm talking about, this is a show that we do twice a month right here in this free Facebook community, Moving Beyond Fear. This is our free relationship anxiety support community. This show was born out of necessity, out of a need. We wanted to find a way to extend information, education to help our followers feel empowered, feel inspired, and thus the Love Over Fear show was born. This show is like a TED Talk meets talk show meets educational webinar meets podcast. We just kind of mash it all together in this show. We always talk about new topics related to relationship anxiety, anxiety in general, relationships in general, movement, and how to bring all of this into your life. We here at Healing Embodied truly, truly believe with our whole heart and soul that you can feel deeply, deeply in love and also feel fear all at the same time. But we want to help you choose love over fear. Yes, I wore this sweater on purpose. We want to help you choose love over fear every single time. That's why we're here. That's why we exist. That's why Healing Embodied exists. That's why the show exists. That is what we are here for. Okay? So let's dive on into today's episode. If you are here watching live with me, say hi. Let me know you're here. Interact in the chat. I promise this is a lot more enjoyable when it's not just me talking at myself and you are interacting with me. So our monthly theme here in the Moving Beyond Fear Facebook community for this month is #challenge the narrative. We are diving into all of our internalized narratives about love and relationships, and we are going to challenge them this month. I'm excited. I love this theme. Today's episode is, what is your narrative about love? Let's do this, shall we? Hi, Mariana. I miss you. I love you. All right, so all of us, every single human being on this planet, we all have various internalized narratives and belief systems. I'm not referring to like specific religious or spiritual beliefs or anything like that. I'm referring to the beliefs that we hold, that we have about the world, about ourselves, about others, the lens that we see the world through. Okay? So as we go through life, we are constantly receiving new information from the world around us. From the time we are born onto this planet, we are receiving information constantly. We're just like little sponges, just getting new information, information. All of this information gets kind of funneled and synthesized in our little developing brains. And some of it takes root, and that becomes our belief systems, our internalized narrative. I have a bit of a tickle and cough today, so I'm going to be taking a lot of sips of water and little breaks throughout, because when I talk a lot is when I start to cough. So hang with me here. So this information, this informs how we see the world around us, how we see ourselves, how we see each other, etc. Okay? For example, I'm going to throw a couple examples at you. If growing up you bring home report cards from school that have straight A's, and your caretakers praise you, and they put it on the fridge, and they buy you ice cream, and they tell all your relatives about it, and then the next semester you bring home a report card that has all A's and 1 B+, and your caretakers are like, oh honey, it's okay, you'll do better next time. You might start to internalize from this information that you've gotten that you are worthy of praise when you achieve perfection, that anything less than perfection, even a B+, isn't good enough. Okay, that's one example. Or let's say if you are a female-bodied person and you walk out of your room in the morning in like baggy jeans or sweatpants and like a big t-shirt, that's like my entire life. Let's say you walk out like that and your mom says like, oh, you better not leave the house looking like that if you ever want someone to date you. That information might get internalized into this narrative that you're only worthy of love when you look your best, or that you have to look your best in order to be attractive to other people or be loved by other people. Okay? Maybe if you watch a lot of romantic movies and you see how relationships are portrayed in those movies, and you hear all of your friends say like, oh, I wish I had a guy like Noah Calhoun, or like, gosh, I just want someone to look at me the way Edward Cullen looks at Bella. Am I dating myself with these movie references? Probably. You might internalize this narrative that that is how love and relationships are supposed to look, and anything other than that is wrong or incorrect. Okay? Do you get what I'm saying? We're constantly receiving information from the world around us, kind of interacts, synthesizes, funnels. Some of it takes root. That becomes the lens through which we see the world around us. Okay? I see a couple more people popping on here watching. Say hi, let me know if you're watching. Tell me in the chat. Interact, ask questions throughout. That's why I'm here, okay? So this is how we learn. This is how we develop as humans. We receive information from the world around us. All of this information interacts, synthesizes, becomes our narratives for how we see the world. And these narratives influence how we show up in our lives. They influence how we interact with the people around us. And they influence how we view love and relationships. Okay. All of this information can come from so many different places. Anywhere that relationships, romantic or otherwise, were modeled for you, anywhere that you saw relationships modeled. That might be your caregivers, siblings, friends and family, peers at school, coworkers, media, television and movies, porn, celebrities, Instagram, past experiences, past relationships, literally anywhere that you saw or read about a relationship, that is information that informs what you believe about love and relationships. Okay? You with me here? Anyone watching? Are you lost? You with me? Some of these narratives, this is something I really want to express and have, I want this to be a takeaway from today's episode. Some of these narratives are helpful, some of them are unhelpful, and many are a mixture of Okay, so I want to give an example from my life. Growing up, I've used this example before. Some of the watchers here might have heard this, but it's a really clear example, I think, of what I'm talking about with these narratives. So, growing up, I have 2 older brothers. We are very, very close. We always have been. Love them dearly. They're my best friends. They're great. Love my older brothers. Growing up, my parents always said to us, we don't fight in this house. In this house, in this family, we don't fight. It's fine if you disagree. It's fine if you don't see eye to eye. It's fine if you have different thoughts or feelings or beliefs or values, but we do not fight. And that is how I grew up. My brothers and I never fought. I don't remember having a single argument or fight with them my entire life. I thought that this was the greatest thing ever for the first 25 years of my life, because I would see like friends of mine having just full-blown screaming matches with their siblings, and I was just like, my brothers and I don't do that. We get along. Or I would tell people, yeah, I have 2 older brothers, and they were like, oh, life must have been hell for you. And I was like, no, it was great. It was wonderful. So I thought this was like the most amazing thing ever. Fast forward to when I'm 24 or 25, and I meet my now husband, whose narrative around anger and conflict within families is very different than my own. He feels very comfortable expressing anger and conflict to others. And it was earth-shattering to me, because I would feel anger, or I would witness him expressing anger, and it didn't fit into my narrative. Hearing consistently growing up, we don't fight in this house, created this internalized narrative for me that it's not okay to have conflict with people you love. My parents didn't say that to me directly. They said, we don't fight in this house. What I internalized from that was that it is not okay, it is not acceptable, it is not safe to have conflict with people that you love. So, I'm a human, my partner's a human, we have had conflict in our lives together. That was earth-shattering. It didn't fit into this narrative that I developed, okay? So now that I can see that and have done work on that, I can see where this narrative might have been helpful, in that it has created in me a value of always reaching towards compassion and understanding before reaching towards anger and criticism. I always default to compassion and kindness before conflict and anger. That's been really helpful. I appreciate that about this internalized narrative. It's been wildly unhelpful because it made me very, very conflict avoidant, very anger avoidant. I did not let myself feel anger. I did not know how to regulate the emotion of anger in my body. I did not know how to experience conflict and love simultaneously. That was wildly unhelpful for me, okay? So this is a narrative that I've developed that has been both a little bit helpful and also wildly unhelpful in my life. And I have worked to create a new narrative, which is our goal this month, to help you start to create some new narratives. My new narrative is that you can feel both anger and conflict and love at the same time. That conflict and anger is not relationship destroying, that it might be very uncomfortable, but that you can experience it and you can still have deep love for another person. Okay, that's my example from my life. Let me know if you've experienced anything similar. Drop it in the comments. And I'm going to move on because I want to cover why we even spend time on this. Why is this even important? Why are we even talking about this all month long? So, like I have said earlier, probably like 6 or 7 times now, These narratives influence how we see ourselves, how we see our partners, our relationships, and how we show up in those relationships. So as humans, we act in line with our values and our narratives. Okay, we are always enacting these values and narratives. If we believe that we are strong, that we are worthy, that we are independent, we're going to act strong and worthy and independent. If we believe that we are victims, that we deserve to be hurt, that we don't deserve joy and happiness, we're going to act that way. If we believe that our partners are vindictive and malicious and will ultimately hurt us, we're going to act this way, and we're going to treat them as if they are. If we believe that our partners are kind and loving and genuinely care about us, and that love is safe, then we're going to treat them with kindness and compassion and respect, and we're going to feel safe in the relationship. Okay? So whatever our narratives are, it influences not only our thoughts, but our behaviors, and I'll circle back to that in a little bit. Okay, so we also tend to see things through the lens of these narratives. These narratives that we develop, they serve a purpose. They help us make sense of the world. Okay, the mind, the brain, it loves boxes. These narratives kind of act like boxes for us. The boxes give us a place to store all of the information we're constantly receiving so that we don't get overwhelmed. The world is a very large and overwhelming place a lot of the time. So these narratives kind of act like these neat little boxes that we can just put this information in so that it's not just like burning and running wild. I'm thinking of that episode of SpongeBob where any other SpongeBob fans? Where it shows an image of the inside of SpongeBob's brain when he's having a crisis, and there are a bunch of little SpongeBobs like running around like crazy, and there are files being burned and thrown everywhere, and everyone's screaming. That's kind of how our brains would be without these narratives in these boxes. The narratives kind of act like little filing systems where we can just put the information, okay? So when we receive new information, our brains try really hard to fit that into a box, fit it into these narratives. Often, if something doesn't fit into one of these boxes, say we have this firm belief that love leads to pain, but then we have an experience where love is really enjoyable and pleasurable and safe, that doesn't quite fit into our narrative. So if it doesn't fit, if we get information that conflicts with these internalized beliefs and narratives, the brain is going to do one of two things. It's going to either modify the information so that it does fit. It might take this experience of safe, calm love and say, well, you know what, but that was just a fluke. It was just, it doesn't count because of X, Y, and Z. It modifies the information so that it does fit into one of these boxes, or it just throws it out. It doesn't integrate it. It doesn't sink in. It doesn't remember it. It doesn't take in that information because it doesn't quite fit. Okay, so example, if you have an internalized narrative that your partner is going to cheat on you, whether this comes from past experience, maybe you've been cheated on, something you've witnessed, maybe like your parents, adultery within your parents' relationship, maybe it's you have such a deep-seated feeling of unworthiness about yourself that you just can't fathom someone ever being truly happy just with you. Wherever it's coming from, if you have this belief of ultimately my partner's going to leave me or cheat on me, then you're going to see everything they do through this lens of they're going to cheat on me. Okay, they might reference a coworker or another girl, or you might look on their Instagram and see that they're following another girl or another guy or something, And your body is going to register that as a threat and respond as if it's a threat, because that is what fits into your internalized narrative. Okay? Or if you believe that marriage always ends in divorce, maybe you've only seen divorce in important marriages in your life, then anytime you and your partner get into an argument or have a conflict, it's not just going to be, oh, we're having a conflict. It's going to be, you're going to be expecting the divorce papers in the mail, right? Because that, in your mind, in this narrative, that is the logical chain of events based on this internalized narrative, okay? So those are two of the big reasons why we're talking about this today, because it influences how we show up in a relationship, and it influences how we see the world. Does this make sense? People watching, there's a couple people watching. Let me know if this is making sense, or if you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Let me know if this is clicking, if this is making sense. So here's the thing, y'all. When we are not consciously aware of these narratives, then they rule us. Then they rule our lives. It kind of just becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. We just continue reenacting these narratives, and we call it fate. We call it bad luck, right? We're just kind of trapped in these beliefs forever when they're not conscious to us, when we're not aware of them. But if we do become aware of them, if we can shed some light on them, if we can start to notice and give name to these narratives, then we can actually shift them. We can change them. We can create new narratives. This is what helps us step into our power. It helps us to see, just because this has been my narrative for 20, 30, 40 years, just because this is how it's always been in my family, just because every member of my family has gotten divorced, or just because every single man in my life has cheated on me, it doesn't have to be this way. We actually have choice. We have power. We can shift these narratives, but not when they are unconscious to us, not when they are just floating around in our unconscious and dictating how we show up and how we see the world. We need to shed some light on them. We need to dive into them. We need to begin to pick apart, where did this come from? What's the narrative? Where did the narrative come from? How is it influencing me? Has it been helpful, harmful, or both? And how can I begin to shift this narrative into something that allows me to live my life more effectively? Okay, let me check in with the comments. So how did this explain so much? Yes, it makes a lot of sense. Good. Yes, right, Sana? So when we're not aware of them, they just run our lives and we call it fate. Okay, we just continue reenacting these narratives. We continue to fit information into these narratives and see the world through these narratives. But when we become aware of them, it's like light bulb, eye-opening. Then we put ourselves in a position where we have power, we have say, we can shift this. It's not always an easy, lovely, beautiful, feel-good process. There's a lot of digging through deep gunk to get through this. But we can do it. We can shift these narratives. And the point that I want to leave you on today, and Chelsea's going to pick up the baton and run with this in a couple of weeks here too, and we're going to explore this throughout this month. The point I want to leave you on is that this has to be an embodied process. The body has to be a part of this process. It's a non-negotiable, because these narratives are stored in our bodies. They do not just influence our thoughts, they influence our behavior. Okay? These narratives do not just affect how we think about the world and see the world, they affect how we act in the world. They don't just influence how we see our partners, they actually change how we behave towards our partners and with our partners. They don't just impact what we think about love and relationships, they impact how we exist in love and relationships. If you've ever had an experience where your thoughts and your actions don't quite line up, this is why. Maybe you have the thought in your mind of, I know I love my partner and I know they love me, yet you're still engaging in fear-based actions and behaviors. You're still engaging in this self-sabotage. You're still shutting down and not speaking and pushing your partner away, even though you're thinking, I love them, I love them, I love them. Okay, thoughts, behaviors not lining up. That's because these narratives run a lot deeper than just our thoughts. They run a hell of a lot deeper than just up here. So really we have to involve the body in this process so that the shifts and the changes run deeper than just your thoughts too. Not only will this shift how you think about love and relationships, it will shift how you experience love and relationships. It's not just going to shift how you think about yourself and your partner, it's going to shift how you behave towards yourself and your partner. Okay? This has to be an embodied process. If you really want the deep shift here, it has to be an embodied process. Okay? The body needs to come into it. Yeah, and that's what we're going to help you explore this month and what we do here. Okay, so that's what I want to leave you with today. We all have these internalized narratives. I'm just setting the stage here today. If you're like, oh my God, but what do I do now? I'm just setting the stage, okay? Take this information, take it, trust that we're gonna dive into it more, okay? So if you want more support with this, if this was helpful, if this was like, oh my God, okay, yes, there's some stuff there and I need to get into it, this is what we do. This is why we're here, okay? So we dive deep into this in our programs. We dive into this. I want to talk about our group program, the Luscious Love Immersion. That is what we do in this program. It's one of the things that we do in this program. Okay, what we do is we really help you uncover, first and foremost, just uncover what are your internalized narratives around love and relationships. What are they? Okay, if you're finding yourself getting kind of stuck of like, I don't know, that's what we help you do. We help you name it, see it and name it. Then we dive into, where did these beliefs come from? Whose voice is that in your head? Where did you learn that? Where did you learn that this is what happens with love and relationships? We dive into that, help you learn where did it come from. Then we go into, how are they showing up in your relationship? So we have the belief, we know where it came from. How's it showing up for you? How's it impacting you? How's it showing up in your thoughts and your behaviors? How are you holding this narrative in your body? What does this look like? Okay, so this narrative that I named for myself earlier of, it's not okay to feel conflict with someone you love. What does that look like? For me, it's it's tense, it's closed off, my eyes get big, I kind of hold my breath, my hands are clenched, I'm leaning back, and I'm just kind of like this, kind of paralyzed. Okay, how does it look in your body? Then we work with you to challenge and recreate these narratives. Remember I said, when we can shed light on this, then we actually have power to shift them. That's what we do. That's where we take it with you. How can we challenge this? Was it helpful or harmful or both? How do we shift this? Let's recreate new narratives. You are not a powerless victim to that narrative anymore. You get to create new narratives. You're the author here. We're here to guide you and help you. Let's create new narratives that really serve you, and then we help you fully integrate these narratives into the body so that you don't just create a new narrative up here, but you're still stuck in this. but that if you create a new narrative up here, that starts to shift into the body. That we start to embody this in our life, in our narrative. Sounds like a lot, right? It is. It is. And that's why we're here. Okay? So if you're interested in that, if you want that help, if you want that support, if you want to dive into this, check out that program. Fantastic program. This is just one of the pillars of what we explore in that program. This isn't the whole thing. There's a lot more to it, right? So check it out. I'll have it linked here. Check it out. Drop questions about it below. Send us a DM. We're always happy to chat with you about the program and see if it's really going to be a good fit for you. Okay? And for everybody else, whether you are interested in the program or not, we want to hear from you, okay? After you watch this video, after you watch this, share your thoughts and reflections. You can comment on this video, or you can share in a separate post in the Facebook group using the hashtag challenge the narrative. What are your thoughts? What are your reflections? What did this conversation bring up for you? What are you noticing? And we're going to dig in deeper to this throughout the whole next month. And if you want hands-on support to really individually integrate it into your life, check out that program, okay? We're not going anywhere. You know where to find us. But we want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and your reflections in a comment or a separate post. That's where I'm going to leave you today. Lots to marinate on, lots of information to let integrate and settle. So share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you all so much for joining today's episode. This is a short and sweet one. I love it. Chelsea will be back in a couple of weeks to take this conversation a little deeper into the body. And you know where to find us if you want more support. Take care, everyone.